everybody, and welcome to the Dead Unicorn, the tabletop role-playing game club. My name's Corey. I'm here with Tarek. Say hello, Tarek.
Hello.
Hey, we're doing the L5R rewrite. We're gonna attempt to flesh out some social rules. It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be a very contentious episode. And if you see me looking like doing this, there are police here in my building, taking care of a problem. There's nothing. I don't think I'm in danger or anything.
They're coming for you.
But
they're on to you.
I am going to be alert for that sort of thing. Some guys are going to rush in through the back here, slam me down on the ground. I'm going to be swatted.
Yeah.
So, let's do our comments first, right? Yes?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do comments from our last videos. Previous videos. I'm sorting. Yes. Okay. This should be everything, I think. Oh my God, so many people on so many different videos.
Oh, really? That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
I get a lot of engagement.
Of feedback.
I get a lot of engagement. Most of it is pretty, some of it's very nice things people say, but a lot of it is people giving me their own opinions on what they like to see in Legend of the Five Rings and other RPGs. And I love that.
I am so washed out right now. Hold on. I got to figure out how to get this
less some tint.
Out. Yeah.
I have a program specifically for that kind of stuff where I can adjust my zoom and my tint and everything.
I think I'm just going to use my owl to make this dark.
Owl. Okay, it looks like just the one comment. It says from Bruno Batello. Bruno Batello. You should make a kata for unpredictable weapons. Yes.
I agree.
Something in the line of, if you would take damage, you redirect the blow to an adjacent target and deal extra damage. Something like that. Common clothes have armor ratings because glorious Nippon steel fucking sucks. Whoa. Hot take.
Super hot take.
Not even kidding. Considering some of these clothes are almost as martial arts kimono, thinner, but with multiple layers, then it makes sense that it provides minor protection for a cut. Katana is not a great sword, guys. Every sword has its pluses and minuses, but a katana, I think, is up there as one of the greats. Katana, longsword,
rapier, like Italian rapier.
Khopesh. I'm a
awesomely
huge fan of a Khopesh. My goodness. And I'm so glad, like those guys that do TikToks about swords and stuff have a couple ones on Khopesh. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, frick yeah. Cause it's curved. It can axe, like you can use it like an axe.
You can also attack over a shield.
Around a shield. It works like a scimitar with like a curved blade too. And the point is in line with your hand so you can thrust with it. And the last thing, and they did not cover this, is they put a little like a hook on the end of it, something that grabs, so you can get around a shield, pull that shield back, hook that shield away, and hit the guy. Oh,
yep.
Khopesh is great. The ancient Egyptians knew what was up, man. They knew what was up.
I want to agree with you so hard right now, but I'm biased because I am Egyptian. Oh. So I don't want to.
It's okay to have pride in your heritage.
Yeah. I mean, we knew it. We knew the designs, man.
So clothing. If we're going purely simulator based, yes. Clothing stops swords and things from hurting you. A lot of the clothing was thick, especially in like medieval Europe.
And layered.
Yeah, layered. Mm-hmm. So it is true. That said, armor is supposed to be armor and clothing is supposed to be clothing. It makes a layer of like
Suspension of disbelief harder.
No, kinda that, but also like it's a level of complexity. It's like, oh, armor is clothes. What clothing is gives you what armor, and a different clothing give you different like.
And remember, there's other games that have it so that like clothing can give you armor and armor can give you armor, and you can layer these things in different areas. There are games that are like that are more simulationist, where you're like you put on a gambeson and then you layer that on with some leather armor or some chainmail, and you have like greater armor that they need to penetrate through. But this game does not use that as a foundational point.
No,
you can't stack armors.
So
So it feels a little redundant.
I think having clothes have some physical resistance, sure, fine. This game has it. People seem to like it. I'm okay with it. That said,
I think low physical resistance is fine.
Giving actual armor, the ablative quality, like, because his next comment is, does the ablative quality include critical strikes dealt with techniques or just the 2 opportunity from the strike action? And I want to say, all. If there's a TN to be hit or a number of opportunities to be gained, it increases that by 1.
Mm-hmm. Or by 2.
Yeah.
And depending on how ablative it is.
That's it.
And that makes sense. It's harder for you to target those critical weakness points. You have to be very precise to do that. Hence, having to spend more opportunity. I like that. I think that feels much more realistic and much more like determinative. You have to take time to focus and potentially build up that strike.
So, thank you, Bruno, for your comments. That was the only comment.
The only thing I think, the only type of critical strike I think shouldn't be affected by ablative is in an Iijitsu duel, the auto critical strike that you get for putting somebody into compromise. That you have studied your opponent long enough that you automatically hit.
I thought you might say like explosives.
No. Yeah. Explosives too. Yeah.
Explosives, magical attacks, like you get hit by a gust of wind. I mean, it's getting through all of that armor.
It's finding your bits.
Okay, let's talk about Intrigue. If you're a longtime watcher of this channel, you know I hate the Intrigue rules. I hate them lots. I think they're the worst part of the new L5R game. But a lot of people like them. I get comments all the time saying, we love Intrigue and we think Intrigue are great rules that elevate the game. And I always ask, like, I'm always curious, like, how do your experience go? I want to learn what's going on. How do you run them? Because I want to know what I'm doing wrong, or what I'm not getting, what I'm not seeing in these rules. And it always comes down to them saying stuff like, well, we don't do the skill rolls that are there. We make up all sorts of new skill rolls, or we do other things that aren't in the rules to make it work. And I'm just like, okay, so you don't actually like the Intrigue rules that are there. You play them like jazz.
Yeah. Or you're just homebrewing. You're homebrewing at that point.
Yeah, you're either homebrewing or you're riffing.
You're improvising.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
which is what we said was the problem with Intrigue scenes, was that you need to either homebrew up a bunch of rules that you can use, or you have to just improv your way through, and that could be difficult for certain players or GMs.
So let me talk to you about what I like in social rules.
Talk to me. Lay it down.
Because I made an entire video about, it was for a Cypher video, about what Cypher should have for social rules. But it's more broadly can be used for any role-playing game. So number one, I do not believe that a skill roll should be able to change the mind of a PC or NPC.
Yep.
So I don't care if it's a bunch of skill rolls or anything like that, which Intrigue does. If you look under, let me bring this out. If you get your social objective of appealing to a person or group, that person they change their viewpoint to match yours. And that should be magic and shouldn't be a social role.
I mean, I can see an effective debate bringing about potential compromise or change. I don't think it should be like a mind control. You exactly see everything from my point of view, but it should be like I can pull you away from your position to kind of be more moderate on a position, or be like a compromise position between the two.
But how
not like you're gonna do exactly what I say.
How do we get there though? How does that? Do you make a roll? Like, you've played Knights of the Old Republic by BioWare, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Do you remember when you're like talking to like merchants and stuff and you keep hitting the persuade button? And after a while, the NPC is just like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Every time I talk to you, I do things that I don't want to do. And that's what it feels like. And I think, like, in a certain sense, that works for video games, right? Because in a video game, you're doing the persuading, right? To get through that challenge. And the NPC never does it back to you. NPCs never intimidate you. NPCs never persuade you. NPCs never haggle you, right? So as the player in that video game, you're having fun. You're changing the world around you with your, how you decide to use your character's gameplay. And that works in that video game. But when you get to like a role-playing game, now my NPCs can do it to you. So if the rules say I can roll diplomacy and then that person now kind of agrees with me, I can do it to players and make the players now kind of agree with me. And the players are going to be like, no, you can't do that just because you rolled a dice. And even if a person says like I've seen players like try to skirt around that rule so hard. Like you see them like saying, no, I am actually doing exactly what they say, but I'm not doing what they're saying at all. Like, no, I am actually believing it and doing it. You can't, no, that I'm doing the thing.
You can't judge what my character decisions are because I'm the arbiter of what my character is. Yeah.
Yes.
You can't see into my character's heart like I can.
Yes. So yeah,
I will say, Sasha, so a great example of how this works without roles, right, is when you were playing Kitsu Satoru in Shadow Empire, and he was manipulating Bayushi Naurin with seeding like layers of doubt in what she's doing and who she's working for and whether she's really on the right side or whether she thinks that the people that she's working for actually have a grand motive or plan that's going to save people or make things better, or if it's just actually two people who are fighting over, dominance and, it's all going to be a power struggle at the end of the day. That legitimate conversation without roles or anything like that literally struck panic and doubt into not only Bayushi Naurin, but Sasha as a character who was constantly after that questioning whether what she was doing was real or not. Like whether she like the conviction that she held was like valuable or impactful. And so, or she needed to change, and maybe Satoru knew something that she didn't, and she was trying to get him to like give out these secrets. So like, I think that's a perfect description of like, intrigue scenes can work without dice rolls by just having players play into those moments and add the tension there.
But not
everybody can do that.
Yeah. So, but by the way, I speaking of that kind of thing, just an aside, I'm gonna take a little detour here. If you ever have a cursed item that makes people want to kill others or do evil things, right? You could do the old thing where it's like, hey, the sword wants you to kill that guy. Why don't you kill that guy? And as the GM, or like, hey, why don't that guy, he could die real easily if you kill him right now. Like, that's fun. I'm not saying don't do that. But for me, like the next time I do something like that, I'm just gonna start kibitzing as the game master, as like I'm trying to just give you good advice. Like, hey, I know you're about to walk away, but that guy could come back and take
Really
revenge
haunt
on you
you.
later. So you might want to do something about that. But hey, I'm just the game master.
I'm
I
just
can't.
the GM.
I'm just the game. I'm just.
Not like I have any control of whether he comes back or not.
And then when it's finally revealed that the sword is cursed and you've been doing cursed things, just relay all of the things that you kibitzed and that they were like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a nice meta way of going about it.
I got that locked and loaded for one day.
Someday soon.
Anyways,
Come around.
social scenes. We do have to talk and dissect Intrigue and what they were trying to do with this, but let's keep talking about how I like my social scenes. So in Shadow Empire, we've been doing this thing where you are tracking down Rancid Yomachi.
Yeah.
Boss Rancid is a hard guy to track down, but you are making lots of social scenes. And one of the things I like to do with social scenes is make them puzzles. Right? You are trying to figure out what people want so you can give that to them so you can get what you want. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about meeting needs here. And it could be like, oh, get me this and I'll give you this. But it also could be this person needs some love. Or this person, reacts more to bullying. Or this person, like, you got to figure out what's going on. So, for example, with Ryuyama, who was the second in command whose boss died, right? You guys just needed to listen to his story to get your next stage, right? And then you're like, okay, these guys need Narn to kill somebody. I mean, that's not the only way you could have done that, and you were like, well, maybe we can give that guy the end that he needs. And so you go back to him and you tell him that, and he's like, the next piece of the puzzle is I need opium.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go see the opium guy, and the opium guy is like, I only go through referrals, and who do you know? And that's the next piece of the puzzle is figuring out a name you can drop that will get him to trust you.
Yeah.
And so all you have to do is listen for the
and
clues.
to not act like you're a bigwig who's gonna rat him out the moment you leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I lay down clues, breadcrumbs for you guys to follow. But there's a few problems with this way to go. Number one is that if you make a puzzle, the players are always going to mess that up.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but a lot of the time they're just going to look at a puzzle and bang their heads against the wall and be like, I don't know what to do.
You should plan that your players are not going to get your hints or your subtleties, and make sure that you have a redundancy in place to continue leading them on the trail.
Another way for them to go. And it may not be the same path.
Yeah.
It may be like, they've reached their impasse here in trying to track down Rancid Yoimachi. So now I'm going to throw the lion at them, and now the lion are going to step up their game and tell them, give them an ultimatum or wherever the plot's going to go next. That next step is going to trigger when my players are like, I don't know what to do anymore. And once that happens, Plan B goes into effect for the game master.
Yeah.
The other path opens up.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you make these puzzles? Is in the video I made, I said to give it kind of a value or a level. And each part, depending on its level, that's how many parts it has. And each part could be a little different. It's not going to be the same role for everything that you do. It should be kind of like a path or a voyage that they take. And it can be hard to do that on the spot. It's better to kind of like know what you're doing beforehand for these. And that's one of the biggest challenges for game masters to do that, is making sure you have your puzzles beforehand, unless you're really good at riffing. The other thing is like, how do you get your clues? How does this go? And this goes to the fact that I don't like those, I roll diplomacy. Now the guy gives me what I want because I rolled diplomacy. It's more like diplomacy gives you insight to what that person needs. So if you're not a good conversationalist as a player, instead you can roll diplomacy, and the game master then says, okay, as you talk to this guy,
and gather information.
Yeah. And gather information. As you talk to this guy, you get to know him, you start up a rapport, and he tells you that, his mother is sick, and he's not willing to help you, but you do get the information like that he's dealing with some stuff right now. And now you know what he wants. And that's super important. That's what the role is for. It's not to change a person's mind. It's to understand that person. Get that information that you can move forward with.
So, just an aside here on this thought. Other games have gotten this idea correctly. So, in the Warhammer games, the Warhammer 40K games, there's a game, I think in all of the games actually, each one of them, from Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader, and the Space Marine one, Death Watch or whatever, they have a skill called Carouse. And what that skill is designed to do is allow you to go off and gather information from a group of people. That's it. You carouse with them, you get to know them, you find out the local buzz, maybe you get some rumors, maybe you get some information on how to track down a person, maybe you just find out about what these people need to open up the dialogue into a further way of getting help.
Your character,
but it puts you in the seat of the check is not deciding whether you convince them or not. The check is getting information that you can then use to convince them.
Your character in Shadow Empire has a couple techniques that are like, hey, I tracked down a source, and I love those. I think those are amazing social rules. That's one of my favorite ones. Is those kinds of things. But there are other social roles that are more confrontational. There is intimidation and haggling, and those aren't
as straight-laced.
Those aren't information getting skills. Those are attacking
or
skills.
Avenues.
So how do we do those? And for me, like I put this in the Cypher game. I was like, hey, you make an intimidation roll against the creature's level, and if you succeed, you can then give it that ultimatum, give it that what it wants, and if they don't do it, they take a penalty. So you can say, hey, surrender now or we will attack, and if they don't, they can either surrender. If you make your roll, they'll either have the option of surrendering or like taking strife or being shaken or staggered, or rolling initiative on vigilance instead of focus, or all sorts of penalties that you can give. So now it's a choice. It's like, hey, you can do this or do that. And
those can be modified by circumstance. Like, do they believe that you're willing to follow through with your threat of violence, right?
Exactly.
Is this a situation where that would be like reasonable, or is that something? Because I always feel like people use intimidation all the time, either without the threat of violence, without actually threatening to do something, like they're in a situation where they couldn't, or they make a threat of like fully intending to use violence in a situation where they really shouldn't be. Like for instance, Youngso with Kitsu Satoru, threatening him violence when he is less capable of fighting at that moment than the Kitsu was. And like that, the power imbalance is not working, so like choose a different approach, right? Like,
right.
So there are those situations that arise in these social dynamics. Even with haggling, you're haggling with the one merchant in town who doesn't give a fuck if you go somewhere else. Go leave. What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go to buy this thing? I have this. You don't. Give me money. Like,
so here's the thing. Here's another thing. Not the thing, but here's just another thing I like to do that I put in the Cypher video is if I intimidate you, then the NPCs can intimidate back and you can go back and forth, blah, 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 intimidate. Like, what does this accomplish? I'm not sure. So there should be a consequence for the intimidator, for the haggler, so if you make your roll, great, you get to do your thing. If you don't make your roll, then because you didn't make it, you're the one who looks foolish. You're the one who looks out of sorts.
You lose face.
So you should take strife equal to your shortfall for every failed intimidation or haggling roll. Every time you try to poke that bear and you don't succeed, you're going to get a little damage or you're going to get a little something. That makes it a gamble for the person who's intimidating too. So it's just not like I did a review of Everyday Heroes, and in it they have a rule called a standoff where you can stare down the other opponent and make an intimidation roll. It's an opposed intimidation roll. Both the NPC and the PC make an intimidation roll. If the PC makes it, the opponent instantly stands down and like either surrenders or retreats, whatever they can do, because you've successfully intimidated them. One roll, you have negated the combat. If the PC fails, they are given the option to surrender or retreat, but the PC doesn't have to follow it. So there are no consequences. You should be doing this every
single time. Yeah.
All the time. You can only do it once per combat, but you should do it every single combat. There's no reason not to. There's no downside to this. And if you succeed, you win. You win.
You win the combat. Yeah.
Yeah.
You win the encounter.
And we can't have that kind of
too
rule
powerful.
Here.
Yeah, that's too powerful. I also think so. When I think Japanese samurai fantasy game and an intrigue scene inside of that, you think of the scene with like in Last Samurai where the daimyo and the captain are negotiating. You know what I mean? He's leading him around, and it's a tense vibe. The two don't really see eye to eye, and they're having these little talks because one of them is kind of a captive audience, and it's there's a high tension that's going on in the scene, but there's plot progressing and there's information being exchanged and ideas being exchanged. I feel like the core aspect of what they're trying to go for with intrigue scenes specifically is to get that social dynamic in there with added tension, right? It's not just your normal communication. It's a tense moment where you're trying to navigate the social hierarchy of the samurai world in a way that you wouldn't normally in just a brusque conversation with your friends. Right?
So moving on to what intrigue scenes are supposed to be. I don't remember The Last Samurai. I haven't seen it in a long time.
I was just using it as an example. You can think of a bunch of different anime where they're like the villain and the protagonist are having like a little repartee between them. And it's a tense moment. It's one of those moments where you're really kind of coming down to brass tacks, and one misstep could lead to some kind of catastrophic outcome. They're wanting to navigate that very delicately, and there's added tension.
Intrigues aren't supposed to be between just two people.
No, it can be a bunch of people. Yeah,
that could be. It has to be.
Well,
but the thing is,
every person you adds that ratchets that tension up.
The thing is, that's not how they are like created when you play them. you can look at most of the adventures that are written by for this edition of L5R, and most of the intrigue scenes are the PCs against one person or one group that they have to like. It's the only one I saw that was an actual intrigue scene was from Sword and Blade, and Sword and Blade wasn't a it was the online add-on to the Winter Court adventure.
Oh, you mean the wedding one, right?
Yeah.
Or the ritual one? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So the Winter
There's
Court
a ton
one
of competing
was
interests.
the Winter Court adventure was supposed to be for Courts of Stone. Courts and Stone, and that came out at the same time. It was supposed to be the courtly adventure. You play that adventure, and intrigue scenes are done totally wrong in it. Until you get to the online adventure that, pardon me, that is part of, if you get that online adventure, you can seamlessly kind of put it inside the other adventure, and that one actually has an intrigue scene that is an intrigue scene.
Yeah.
There are multiple groups. There are multiple groups, all with their own objectives and doing their own thing. And because of that, all sorts of stuff are happening at once.
This is why this exact thing is why I said when this edition first came out that intrigue scenes are designed for those Winter Court online forum games that were being run at the time. They were prevalent at the time. They were designed to work in that format specifically, where there's a bunch of different PCs in a bunch of different delegations, each one with their own like motives and goals in mind, and y'all are having these mass court scenes where you're trying to weave in and out through the like lines of communications and the battle lines of court and get your goals accomplished. This works perfectly in that setting.
Not perfectly, but it's very tuned into that. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very hyper tuned to that kind of environment where a campaign doesn't have that.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of PCs and the GM is just all of the other factions, and most of those other factions won't matter in that context.
That's exactly right.
It boils down to just one person or one group versus the PCs, and that's all that really matters. So it's hyper focuses on that. But if you had a bunch of different actual individuals with a bunch of different competing motivations, then it actually holds up kind of well.
I mean, intrigue scenes are more like mass battle scenes for court. And the thing is people look at them as social rules and want to shoehorn them into any social situation. And like duels, there should just kind of be those single role duels, single role intrigues. And like, there should be something for like a single role intrigue. There should be devoted social rules in this game that works for social things that is not intrigue.
Yeah.
Like all of the things that I detailed earlier in this pod stream livecast, those are the things that
Pod stream livecast coming to you in 2025. Pod stream livecast.
Woo!
Get them while they're hot.
I like them with mustard.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there is a place
I agree.
For intrigues. It's just that this is not your baseline social rules. This is not your starting place. This is something that is a set piece. Yeah. Like a mass battle is a set piece. That's what intrigue scenes are.
This is a massive court environment where you're going in as a winter court or into a daimyo's court where there's a bunch of competing interests.
And yet there's a ton of techniques that are simply for intrigues. That's it. That's all that's all it's there for is for these.
Those over there. I agree, and I think I really like the idea of breaking intrigues down into multiple types of scenes, just like mass battle, skirmish, and duels. Those are 3 combat scenarios. why does social encounters only have one type?
There should be like a
It could
social
have
duel.
individual social duels.
There should be
There
social
can
duel.
be there can be the mass battle is obviously an intrigue, and there could be a skirmish style social rules. But the problem that I have with even going down that route is that it over gamifies something that should be as simple as conversation.
Yeah.
A lot of times conversation with maybe a couple of dice rolls in between should resolve most of the situation.
I agree. That's why I just think there should be like a good guiding, like this is how social works and these are how these social skills should work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the downsides to this role playing game is that skills they aren't great. Like what does I'm gonna go to the skills section here. I'm missing everything. Here we go. So, what does skullduggery do? It says the rule of law is not absolute in the Emerald Empire, no matter how harsh the consequences for breaking the laws are. Criminals exist everywhere. Blah blah blah. Brigands. Blah 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 blah. Okay. While breaking the thieves usually turn to this path out of necessity, it is almost an invariable struggle to survive. Some criminals are tremendously successful, creative massing cartels and criminal operations that spread through numerous cities. So is this skill about creating a cartel and managing an underworld business?
A criminal enterprise?
Skullduggery also include the craft of spies. Many of the tricks are similar to those of criminals. So is seduction skullduggery? It doesn't say sleight of hand, stealth, disguise, lockpicking. There they actually say what you can do. Trap making are
but
also
those are
important.
just as important as to the criminal and spy portfolio as deception, dissembling.
So here's the question. Here's the question I have. I want to use sleight of hand. What are the rules for that? I want to make a trap with my trap making skullduggery. How do I do that?
What are the results of it?
What are the results? What's the TN? How do I know what the TN is going to be? How, as a game master, do I set that TN? How do the different rings... I mean, it does tell you the different rings are pretty good at telling you what you're supposed to do for each one. That's fine. But, like, doing the individual tasks are kind of... There's nothing there. And that's especially true when you go to where is it? You talk about the social skills, not scholar skills. Here we go. Performance. How do I know I made a good performance? Is it against vigilance? Why would I want to defeat someone's vigilance to convince them I did a good performance? Wouldn't doing a good performance necessitate them knowing I did? Wouldn't a low vigilance person, if I made a good performance, not understand it was a good performance because they have a low vigilance? I don't understand how these stupid social skills work. How does courtesy work? Right? If I'm doing etiquette, if I am trying to show etiquette, how do I know what the DC is? Or I'm sorry, DC. How do I know what the TN is for my role in this? If there was like a little chart that said, hey, if you're in your own place, it's a TN1 to know what the etiquette is. If you're in a neighboring clan, it's a TN2. If it is like a foreign nation or stuff, it's a TN4. Like, that would be pretty handy and good for people and players, for players and game masters alike. And then, like, hey, don't be afraid to put a modifier on that if you're a game master, increasing or decreasing the TN depending on the circumstance of the player.
So they did add in something called sub skills, which sub skills could be used to offer this more granular approach, but it also breaks their entire XP system and leveling system out,
Uh-huh.
and like it just falls apart with subskills. But subskills, I think, are important. Like the old L5R versions had specializations in certain skills. They gave you very clear dynamic reasoning for how each skill can be used and what the TNs for those things
But
are in a realistic way.
as soon as you put in a subskill, they're like, make sure you tell everybody before the game starts to make this subskill, and then you don't know how that subskill is going to interact with
your school, with
your school
with your
curriculum.
titles, yeah, with your titles, with your XP expenditures, period. Like all of that kind of breaks down.
Exactamundo.
So even the tool that they designed to potentially help alleviate this ambiguity of skills doesn't really solve the problem.
Nope.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to make a baseline social system before we can even attempt to
redesign an intrigue encounter. Yeah.
exactly.
How those work.
Like, what does a social encounter look like to begin with? And I think we need to. I think I've laid down some really good points. Like,
yeah.
Getting somebody to do something should either be through persuasion, which is a learning what that person wants and trying to fulfill that, or
that's the manipulation aspect. Yeah.
Or intimidating that person to do something or reap consequences. Mm-hmm. And those are, if there's another way, guys out there in YouTube land or Moonbeam land, I'm on Moonbeam, guys. Y'all should check me out on Moonbeam. If there's another way, another thing that I'm not thinking of, because like bribery, I put under manipulation. Under like you're trying to figure out what that guy wants, right?
Deception. I think there's room for deception, right?
You can deceive, you can lie to people, but to lie to them first, you have to know what they want.
What their aim is.
So there's no problem with me. Like, that's just another part of learning what somebody wants and giving it to them, even if you lie to them about what you're giving. That's fine.
Yeah. Because you can set up a con to like weasel information out of them and then get them into like this whole architected, deception.
And I don't mind. I don't mind a one roll getting through an NPC with making a roll, but that NPC should be a minor NPC that is just like,
a throwaway for that scene.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, I need a servant to go do something for me real quick. And it's like, okay, make a courtesy roll to make sure you follow the proper etiquette and get the servant to do it. Bloom, blam. Okay, the servant goes and does that. And that's the only exception I can see is stuff like that. Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I feel like there's potentially more to it that we could add in, but that's going to take kind of exploring the space a little bit more to find out what would work. Because I'm thinking like spying is another way of finding out that information, but that's again finding out information, right? It's information gathering. Oh, hey. So there's obviously steps here. Good.
Check out page 152 of the main book. Sample task with TNs for social skills. So there is something. There is a little thing. Calming somebody with a reminder about propriety is earth. Convincing an inexperienced soldier that they will survive the battle, air. Teaching someone the rules of the game, earth. Reciting a popular poem to win over your audience, water.
Yeah.
Moving the scheduled date of an appointment with a court official of lower status. So there is something. I'm just an idiot, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think? Tell me your thoughts on this.
I mean, I feel like this is more like realistically understanding making a rationale for how you assign a TN to a task.
Mm-hmm.
These are samples, so it's not going to go into every possible situation, but it is good that it shows a broad like set of like options that you have. That being said, you still need to break it down into, is this a command thing? Is this a courtesy thing? Is there setup to these things that is going to be requiring other skill checks to do so? As far as like one role encounter situations, I think this makes sense for like creating an opening, right? But if you want anything more engaging than just a singular moment, then I think there needs to be bigger, broader rules, right?
Sure. So let's start writing this kind of stuff down. So there's going to be different.
I think there's multiple steps to different types of social encounters, right?
Different social encounter types. There is the one role encounter. There is the social puzzle. There is the confrontation.
I think well, I was gonna say the 3-step process.
What is the 3-step process?
3-step process would be gathering information to.
That's under the social puzzle. That's the social puzzle, baby.
Is it?
I get, yeah. You get the information, so. And then you try and figure out how to fulfill that.
Fulfill the information, then confrontation, right?
Confrontation is different. Confrontation is, I'm intimidating you. I'm haggling you. And confrontational roles should have consequences if you fail.
Yeah. So confrontation is what you mean is contested roles, right?
Our NPCs don't roll any dice, so it's just against their static TN of whatever that NPC is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's still contested, right?
It is contested, yeah. You're going against the NPC, and you get strife for shortfall. Yeah,
but so what I would say is this is contested role versus NPC, sure. Where this is more contested role. Wait, not role, but role.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to notice.
Contested role versus environment, right? So this is multiple steps of like, I'm trying to gather information where I'm not necessarily only making checks against the person, I'm making checks against the world state, right?
But also, like, you do talk to that person.
Versus...
You do chat them up to find out what their hopes, dreams, loves, and...
Yeah, but that's not the entirety of the thing, right? This is that's why I was saying it's a stepped process where one is going to be the confrontation is just one aspect of the encounter.
It's not an aspect of the encounter. Phases. It is the encounter.
No. I'm saying for social puzzles, there are steps where the confrontation part, the role versus an individual, is only one phase of that. Then there's the go find it, go do something, go do, right? And then there's the final success of kind of coming back and moving on to the next step.
So
where you restarting the process.
I'm just going to write down what I was going to write down, which is social puzzle is figuring out the wants or needs of an individual and trying to fulfill them or act like you are fulfilling them in order to gain an advantage with that character.
And this can be done through manipulation. This could be done through persuasion. This could be done through seduction. This can be done through skullduggery, spying. This could be done through a bunch of different.
Confrontation is intimidating or haggling with another character, you give an ultimatum, and if the character can choose not to follow it, but gains consequences for not doing the task. If a player fails their intimidation or haggling roll, they gain strife equal to the shortfall. One roll encounters are minor tasks that the PCs might need to overcome socially. This includes things like etiquette, dealing with minor
bureaucracy.
Dealing with bureaucracy, or a minor NPC who is not plot
Relevant.
Huh?
Plot relevant.
Relevant, yes. That's right. There you go. And you can mind control somebody who's not plot relevant. That should be fine. That's like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, I made a roll and he's convinced.
Or be able to satisfy something quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is ad hoc, kind of in the moment. You need something to happen. It doesn't need to be something as drawn out as a social puzzle, and it doesn't require a confrontation to get done necessarily.
Exactly.
Because you could always fall back on, I'm going to intimidate the peasant into running off and doing what I want them to do. But there could be consequences to that you don't necessarily have to do if you go through a one roll encounter.
Wow, this is really coconutty. Yeah. Main ingredient is coconut oil.
What are you drinking?
It's like a wax thing?
You're drinking wax?
It's a salve.
Oh, you're salving yourself.
Devil's Club salve. And just like the devil, it's filled with coconut.
Yeah. I've heard that about the devil.
Olive oil, beeswax. Devil's Club. What is Devil's Club? It's an ingredient.
It's that place you go when you're looking for a
succubus for the night.
Yeah.
Dancing with succubuses. I gotta figure out what Devil's Club is. What is Devil's Club? Scientifically known as Lopanax horridus, a large understory shrub native to the rainforest in the Pacific Northwest. Hey, that's where I live. But also found on islands in Lake Superior. It is characterized by large palmate leaves and erect woody stems covered in noxious, irritating spines.
So it is Devil's Club, and it does involve succubus.
The plant is also referred to as Alaskan ginseng, although it is not true ginseng. Devil's Club generally grows to 1 to 1.5 meters. but some can reach the height of 3 to 5 meters.
What are its alchemical properties?
It has traditionally been used to treat a variety of conditions, including influenza, measles, diabetes, cancer, arthritis, and rheumatism. It has also been used as a purgative emetic and
So it makes you vomit. Got it.
the plants contain chemicals that might prevent certain cancer cells from growing and fighting some bacteria, fungi, and viruses. However, there is a lack of clinical studies to support these uses. It's recommended to avoid it due to its lack of documented evidence.
Great. So
I
don't eat it.
I didn't
Don't eat the paste.
I didn't buy this. I'm just gonna say this was a gift.
Okay. Don't eat the salve. Don't eat it. Delicious paste. Delicious emetic paste.
It's not a paste. It's a salve.
Okay, you know what? Tomato.
Okay, we've talked a lot. I want to know what our viewers think, because we're reaching the end of the episode.
I'd love some feedback from the viewers to let us know what they think of social encounters. How would you run your social encounters differently if you didn't have to deal with intrigue scenes in your L5R games?
And how do you run intrigue scenes?
And how do you run intrigue scenes? Yeah,
That's right. I'd like to know.
Those small in between checks and stuff that don't need to add up to an intrigue scene. How do you run those? I would really like to know that. What is your approach to those? And did we kind of cover them? Right.
Yes.
And if you have any other ideas on how social encounter types could differ from what we've already documented, let us know that too. And of course, if you're part of the Patreon, feel free to join into the document yourself. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think directly.
Make some edits. You can edit
the document. Make some edits. You can
suggest edits directly to the document. Yeah. Tarek, anything? We got about 3 minutes left. Any sort of life thing you want to talk about?
I don't really have anything super interesting. I recently started working on an interesting project that includes AI, and I will see how that turns out.
Are you vibe coding?
I'm not vibe coding, but what I am creating integrates AI into a process that is really time consuming for the client that I am working for, and it should be interesting. I can't give out like super details because I'm under an NDA, but it should be very interesting. We'll see how it goes.
I am not AI adverse like a lot of people are. What I am adverse to is how just all the AI slop that's out there and how it's going to be used to, one, rip people off, coming and going.
Yeah.
I've seen the videos that look amazingly real now. They look so, and I'm just like, wow, people are going to get scammed to hell. People are going to get catfished.
I see the Elon Musk ones all the time of Elon Musk. AI Elon Musk telling you how to get rich quick schemes, like press the link below and you'll see how I made all my fortunes. And yeah, it's wild. I am not, so in terms of vibe coding, I don't think AI is smart enough, especially large language models. Like there are other AI models that are being developed that might be more capable of doing logic, but the current large language model is bad. They don't reason. They're not thinking. AI does not think. It does not reason through a problem. It references other language that it is absorbed and trained on in order to find a pattern that fits what you're asking it to do. And then it just regurgitates that information. That does not solve problems. That does not creatively or logically plot through a thing. So even these language models that are designed to tell you their reasoning at each step that they're taking to come to a solution are terrible at reasoning through any basic logic puzzle, and coding is all about logic puzzles. So it's not great as an asset there. Vibe coding is going to get you more trouble than it'll actually save you. What you can do with these models, though, is have it do the basic stuff for you, the easy like pattern stuff. You can tell it the pattern that you want it to follow, and then it can do that for you. And you are the person driving the encounter behind it, and
My
that
past
will work.
my past couple of videos that I've made, I am using the AI mask feature in the video editor, and I'm using AI selector tools. The AI selector tools are amazing and great and really help me establish the vision that I want. So that's the best way. I like AI is great when it's being used as, you know, a helpful tool.
As a tool.
Yeah.
As a tool alongside a person. Yeah.
So good. And then like you find out that, you know, because like Ubisoft or like other game companies, you see them putting AI slop into stuff, and that AI stuff in the video game is being trained off other people's work. And then they're like, don't pirate stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm going to pirate your game. I don't get, you're stealing from other people. I am going to steal your game. I'm
stealing from you. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no, like, you can't.
I have no reason not to now.
They've literally
You've unlocked my ability to do it. Yeah.
So if pirating is good enough for the game companies, it's good enough for you. They're doing it. You should.
Exactly. It's a perfect place to end on.
Except for my stuff on Patreon, which you can get there for only $1.
Hey, I won't write you that.
And my backer kit. So I want to give a small update on backer kit. We're a little over time. I wanted to start it on July 11th, but I can't because I need to get 80 backers. Not backers, but like 80 followers. And once I get 80 followers, I can start it up and I can start doing the campaign. I would love to have people sign up just to follow it so I can get the show started, the party started. It has bespoke art. There's no AI art in it. The artists I have are really good. I got some like that lobster goddess is amazing looking, I think. I don't know what you think, but
Lobster goddess.
Lobster goddess.
Yeah.
So please go and just click the follow on the backer kit, and yeah, I would really, really appreciate that. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. We'll be here.
Yeah.
And we'll see you later tonight if you want to come join us for the live stream of our Let's Play.
Yeah.
For our live play.
That's Tarek. My name is Corey, and we implore you, go roll some dice.